Jerald, how we doing, buddy? All right, so here is the Regiis hilt, I should say chassis. So let's hop down over here on this side and we'll show you what's going on, man. All right, so here's my Regiis. I've got the buttons out because I wanted to show you how to put this in. I had two of the same red buttons on here, but went ahead and switched it because I was trying to debug some stuff. And then by the time I realized it had nothing to do with these switches, I thought it'd be a good idea to go ahead and have a differentiations so that when you're putting it in the hilt, you know which side goes to which. You'll notice that this side is a little shallower in the three-dimensional or in the 3D print aspect of it because this goes in a little bit deeper. That being said, here is the shadow foil sub-bladed. Here's the stock rotary. So when we go to put it in, the red button is your main button. I've taken mine out. This is something we talked about. There's two little black screws, and this is what I'll be filing when you send me your NG version. But I've taken these blue screws out, black screws out, and those go right into, we can point, you can, here, I'll go there. You can see it just on the inside there. It's underneath this, but that would go along with this slot. So anyway, red button on the main, and then it goes in pretty easily. You can see if it's sliding around there. And then what you'll want to do is get one of these buttons in first. So the other one is going to be, at least for me, is a little bit more temperamental. Don't put them all the way in just yet because, at least for me, the red button, I kind of have to move around a little bit. And every now and then, I'm hoping it's better constructed on yours, but I find I have trouble starting mine because if it doesn't start right, it goes in and then that's it. And I don't know if you can tell, but it's off alignment. So what I do is rotate the counterclockwise until it drops back in. And there we go. I think I might have gotten it. But this is where I struggle the most because like this button will just not want to go in. And then the other thing you'll want to do when you get these is just make sure how far you need to do this. These buttons, the red button and the tactile button, should be good for these to screw all the way in. But for mine, for whatever reason, the this black button sometimes doesn't need to go all the way in. But that being said, these are both in now, and once this goes in, you'll be able to line up. So you'll notice here on each side, we've got a slot. Just gonna, there we go. And you can sort of see way down in there, those two alignment screws are there as well. So you'll want to basically line those up. But
may the force be with you.
So before we get into the fitment, I'll go over the programming real quick. So obviously the Profi has a little thing on it. Just be mindful when you're operating it. And let me turn this off for a second. So there is a strip on here that's a little fragile. So it's just stuck down with some double-sided tape. And there's two layers of it and some protection so that there's no grounding issues. But the real interesting thing is, and I can see if I can get this to do it, you'll need tweezers to get your SD in and out. And I'll show you mine. Where am mine at? The odd thing about the design of this particular part of the chassis up here with the MJF nylon is there is a little crossbar member that goes here, which sort of locks down the Profi in. Now, I do have this E6000 in because you can still get a 90-degree cable in here. And like I said, you'll need tweezers to get the SD card in and out. Putting it back in is very troublesome. So you'll need to keep an eye on it. Get you some either some extra lighting like I've got here, or like some jeweler's loops, something that you can magnify. But just keep an eye on when you go to put, when you go to use tweezers to put it back in, because it can go underneath the Profi, and it's just a pain in the butt. Okay, so One other quick thing is, I'm sure you've seen how this operates, but you have to do the prophy first and then the battery tray to get to the battery. The positive is towards the emitter, speaker side, and I'm not going to pop this out, but you can. So this was kind of the troublesome alignment. So I have bent this as much as I can and bent this as much as I can. Every now and then, if this is like twists over time, you'll see that like maybe that doesn't go in just fine. But I've done a little bit of filing to try to get this to be as perfect as I can. And it's getting better going in and out of the hilt. All right, that being said, kill switch is over here. And I've got you 3 motor settings. So you can pick which one you like. You can obviously program it to whatever you've done on your other hilts, because I know we had a conversation about that. But I've got it at like, I think 70% power. So my RGB value is like 170 or 180 or something like that across. And what I've done is on the first one, it's on, the motor's on all the time, which is why I turned it off. The second preset, the motor comes on when the blade turns on, but it's off when the blade is off. And again, it's only 70%, that RGB 180 value. And then the third preset, which I've copied to the rest of the presets, is the motor is only on in the off state. And then when the blade's on, it turns on. And my thought being is when this is out of the hilt, you'll want to see that move. But maybe you like it the other way, which would be the second preset. So OSHA will have the motor only turns on when the blade is on. Party mode will have the motor is always on. And then I think the stranger is the third preset. And then all the rest of them have that preset where the motor only runs when the blade is off. So we'll turn it back on.
Nothing we couldn't handle.
There's the thing moving. You got a real quartz crystal in here. Obviously, you can open the door up. Magnets, turn it off. I've done a little bit of testing with the clash detection so that the motor shouldn't trigger any false clashes. You may have to play with that if you decide to play with the speed setting, or if you just if you decide to turn the motor off on all your presets because you're never going to want to see it, then you can probably either bump the setting up or whatever. But anyway, that being said, you can see right now we're fine. So we've got some diffused on that. We got a single NeoPixel lighting that up. We've got these two, which are, doing their own thing. And for the most part, all of these should match roughly what your master chassis did for the katana is. So we have an aux tactile button here. You can switch fonts that way. So the motor turned off. So this is, again, off when the blade is off, on when the blade is on. So if this is your preferred setting, then you can have this copied throughout the rest of the presets. I've also got a little note in the config file. And then now it's only on when the blade is off, and then it turns off when the blade is on. And this will be the rest of the presets, just like this. And then if we go backwards,
Party saber.
Battery level.
The battery level is completely off. So like if you wanted to never have that running, you can just copy the preset for the motor. And again, it's all laid out. And obviously these will go from green to red. So let's talk about putting it in the hilt. Now I'm forgetting if I've done, so we've got twist on, but we don't have swing on. Do we have thrust on? No. So I think we just have twist on this one. So it should not start as easily when you're putting it in. But again, you'll make sure to align the slot there with that screw. And this is where I said it gets tight, right? So if you're off, you'll have to pull the hilt out. But if you're on, it'll go all the way in. And you'll want to avoid twisting when it's not in. So I'm going to have to slam this out. So now I can twist it. So I think we twist that way just a smidge. Yep, there we go. So now I can get it in, and where did my pommel go? And as soon as that made contact, now we should be seeing we're on the battery level. So
Party saber.
there we go. So we were on the battery level, so that there wasn't anything happening at the emitter. So we've got that doing its thing now. And you can obviously hear the motor in here, which is why you may want to choose to do one of the other presets. All right, so let me put a temp blade in here. So 1-inch blade. And do I have the correct? No, I don't. So.
Chimere?
I don't know if you could tell, but this is the one where the motor turned off, right? And now the motor's back on.
My name is Jord Fandar, Knight of the Jedi Order.
Which is the same for every other preset. So again, I just did 3 different styles, well, I guess 4 different styles if you count the battery level, where it's always on or always off, on when the blade is on when the blade is off. And those are your 4 different settings. So whichever one you like, pick. If you want to, again, change the speed at which the motor runs, like I said, I think I have it at 70% power. You may need to play with the clash detection. Like it's not false clashing now, but when I was having trouble with this, and I think I was on the phone with you, or maybe I did a screen share, but you saw it was doing what yours would do, and the motor would cause all kinds of false clashes. So in the config, I did use audio suppression level, so you can also play with that. I think 20 is the value I copied in at. It's a value from like 1 to 50, so you could play with that as well. Obviously, when it's not on, you shouldn't have, when the blade is not on, you're not going to have like crazy false clashes. But I think I've got it at a decent level in terms of clash, but your hilt may differ. So that being said, all of the same presets that I installed your katana.
Jackie.
So Jackie.
Master Vernestra.
Vernestra.
Ninth Sister.
And those also have those special features. So, oops. I guess I do have, I guess I do have swing on. But those have the special abilities. So let's go.
Master Vernestra.
Okay, so we'll do a Cortosis Clash real quick, which I believe is hold power and twist to the right. Yep. So all that stuff, again, will work on those first set of presets. And yeah. So let me hop down to the table real quick and show you a little bit of how I've been getting this out. It probably will improve over time because it only took me 3 times to smack it. So I've barely got it now. One more, and now I can pull it. So you see me smacking my wrist real hard. So it could be one of those things where maybe you don't like that. The nice thing about it is, I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. If it ever does get like, you don't like doing that, obviously we can undo the switches and just push it out from the front. You can't push it out this way because this brass is a little bit narrow of a diameter than the bottom part, but you can take these switches out. Static PCB that stays in here, this little holder set. And like I said, get like a 7/8 blade or something like that. to push all the way through, or actually a 1-inch. Yeah. So you can see the 1-inch can't go any further because those screws, but a 7/8 would. But you'd be able to basically push the chassis through if you don't want to smack your wrists. And again, it's already feeling a little bit more comfortable. In other words, like even this didn't used to do as well. But if you're going to be sending me your Nick Greenland hilt, then we'll see how that fits up. So that is it. Show it off real quick. I think it looks pretty cool. So here, we'll turn this light off and see if that, no, that doesn't really help. Just turn it down some. So yeah, you can pull this up, access to your Profi. And you can see where I used the silver plating on those brass parts on the inside there, just like and same thing here on this motor. So all of these are brass pieces, but they're silver plated. These, however, are aluminum. One of them might be brass. In fact, I think it's this one right here. You can sort of see the light. And that was because I think I ran out of that particular size of tube or something like that. I forget what was going on. But so yeah, got 10 rows of NeoPixels there. And again, this speaker offset ring is just glued to the face, which is why you don't want to be trying to twist it if you're not fully aligned. If you want, I can maybe see about also filing down these screws so that this can be like just in there any which way. That's something we can talk about. But if you want, I'll definitely be sanding down those. Like on mine, again, nothing about those really felt structural to me. So I just took mine out, but I left these for alignment pins. But they don't necessarily have to be there. I think they're long enough to file down. Well, maybe not. Yeah, I don't know if I'd suggest that because there's barely any threads on these. It only threads into that brass part. You can see here. But it actually just goes through the aluminum and threads into the... Yours may be different, so we'll see about that. But let's talk about that when you send yours off. But yeah, this thing's good to go. I'm feeling a lot more confident about it now that it's fully programmed and we got the debugging situation going on with this guy. And if you have any questions, let me know. Yeah, there we go. So let me know if you have any questions. Oh, there we go. That's much better lighting. And again, we got real quartz crystal in there. And it lights up pretty well. So let's see if we can do that again.
Allow me to show you our identification.
Shenhati.
Palan, ninth system, master bladestyles.
I honestly did not do anything new. So again, this is programmed exactly like your Darth Alice katana is. So chassis strips are exactly as they were on your chassis strips. Now you had an extra speaker accent, but we have the crystal, we have the Profi cover, and we have the chassis strips. And then obviously now we do have the ability to subblade this. So that's your saber.